Hello students, today we are going to start Unit 2 Chapter 2 Programming Methodology. Okay, so before we start what is a good program, first let's understand what is the need of a good program. See, writing a computer program is just like learning a skill. Let's say if you want to learn how to drive a car, there are lots of books are available where it has mentioned how to drive a car. But your actual learning begins when you get into the car and you start driving. Okay, similarly, the computer programming is a process of writing, testing, troubleshooting, debugging, and maintaining of a computer program. An effective program is that which results of all different inputs, means whether you provide the correct input, what shall be the output, even though if you provide the wrong input also, in that scenario what will be the output. Okay, so while creating a program we have to follow certain systematic approach. So this systematic approach contains two steps. First is what the program structure, and the second one is what the program representation. Program structure is implemented using top down or the bottom up approach, and the program representation means what, how you write the program to make it readable and understandable. Okay, now let us see what is a good program. A good program means that it should produce correct and faster result taking into account all the memory constraints. Okay, to understand this one, let's take an example. Let's say there is a program one has written. Okay, let's say this program one takes 5 minutes, and this again the second program, but it is running in a separate computer. Let's say it is taking what, 10 minutes. Okay, let it be the second program. This is a second program. So there are two different programs are there, and the purpose of these two different program, what they have to do, they have to display the prime number from 1 to 50. They have to display the prime numbers which are lying between 1 to 50. Fine. So program 1 it is taking 5 minutes. Program 2 it is what? It is taking 10 minutes. Okay. So if you see the time constant, so definitely this program we will consider it is best because it is taking the less time. Fine. Now let's say it is taking 10 GB and it is using, let's say, it's just a consideration, 256 MB. So now which program we will consider it's a better? Definitely maybe it is taking more time but it is using less memory, so this program will be considered as the best. So there are some constraint, time, space, all these constraints are there for the good program. Okay, now let us see the next, what are the good habits for the good programming, that is what accepted by most of the people. Let's see. Good programming habits. The first one is the clarity and the simplicity of expression. We should try to write clear instruction and simple instruction. Let's take an example. Let's say I want to find the output x is to the power 6. Okay, so I can write it like this: x into x into x into x into 1 2 3 4 5 6. This can be done, or I can use some library function just like this: pow x comma 6. So this is what the clear and very simple one. Okay, simplicity of the expression. Now let's say I want to write x is equals to a plus b divided by a minus b. So over here, since it's a complex expression, so it is not simple. So if I apply the brackets, So it will be clear. If you see, this expression contains the addition, division, then a subtraction also. Okay, so it is not at all clear. So for this, if I apply brackets, then it is become simple and clear also. Okay, the first, the addition and subtraction has to happen. So after the solving these two expression, the division will be taken place. Okay, so this is the way how one should write a clear and a simple expression. Use of proper name of identifiers. Proper name of identifiers means what? You should use the variable names which we take. Okay, let's say the variable name, I want to calculate area of a rectangle. So to calculate the area of a rectangle, variables are required. Let's say I have written A and B. Okay, and some other user has written L comma B. So which one is much more clear? This is much more clear. Okay, L, it makes a sense. Length, B for the breadth. Okay, or let's say if I want to calculate, or I want to declare, I want to write a program how to calculate simple interest. Okay, so let's say I have written A, B, C, D. A, it will take principal amount, and B, here you are going to store rate of interest. Here C, it is going, you are going to store the time, and the D, here you are going to store the simple interest. So through A, B, C, D, it is the variable names, it is not at all clear. Fine, but instead of declaring A, B, C, D, if I write like this, let's say P, ROI, that is what the rate of interest, T, or let's say time. It may take more time to declare a variable, but it increases the readability of the program. Simple interest, if I write SI. Okay. Now from the name of the variables, it is clear what is the purpose. Okay. So it is required that proper name of identifiers, whether we declare a variable or whether we declare functions, it should have some meaning, so that when the program will become complex, it will be easier to understand. Okay, now one more thing, what we need to do, we need to try to avoid some name just like this, just like class, classmate. So this classmate is very much close to the class. Okay, so we should try to avoid to declare this kind of identifiers. Okay, okay, next let's see the comments. What is a comment? Fine. While we are writing a program, basically comments, if you write down within a program, compiler has to do nothing with the program. So while the compiler will be compiling, it will skip out those comments. Then why do we write the comment? Basically comments we write to provide some extra information. Let's say today you have written a program, and this program will be read by your team members. Okay, so maybe your team members will not understand why this particular logic, why this particular code has been written. So what we do, we write down, we provide what? Comments. Comments is a programming construct which is used to embed programmer readable annotation in the source code of a computer program. Those annotations are potentially significant to programmer, but typically ignorable to compilers and the interpreters. Okay. Now over here, the comments can be of it's like in the programming language of the C++. This is what the single comment line, and this is what the multiple comment line. Now over here in the block of the block comment is implemented in Python by using like this. And if you want to implement a single line comment in the Python, we use hash. Okay, so these comments, they do play a very important role to provide extra information in the programming. Next come was what the indentation. Why we do the indentation? Indentation, what basically, let me tell you, leading white space at the beginning of each comment, which is used to determine the group of a statement, is known as indentation. I can write a program in two ways. Okay, let me write down. This is what, let's say, approach 1. This is what, let's say, it's approach 2. Okay, now let's say I have written over here, if A is greater than B, print A, else print B. This is the way. Or I could have written, so you can see the readability of this code is far higher than this. So this is very difficult to read and interpret, but at a glance, if any other programmer will see this code, will understand very easily. So this is what the purpose of the indentation. That's why we provide the leading white space just the beginning of the code to mention that as it is a block. Okay. Now let's talk about what is the characteristics of a good programming. First of all is what flexibility. Flexibility in the sense, if we can create a program which can handle most of the changes without having to rewrite the entire program, that program is a flexible program. Just like let's take an example of the CAD, computer aided design. The software is used for purposes such as the engineering, drafting, printing, circuit board layout and design, architectural circuit, technical drawing, industrial art, etc. Okay, so most of the programs are being developed for the certain period and they need updation during the course of the time. So if a program that you have written, if it is applicable in most of the area, then it is a flexible program. Next is what, it is the user friendly. User friendly in the sense, it should be easily understood by the beginner. That is why it should means a program which is easily understood by a beginner is what, it is a user friendly. Okay, it must interact user through understandable message. In addition, the proper message for the user to input data and display the result. Let's say if you want to accept any data through the program, then your program should give a suitable message so that the user can understand what kind of data has to be provided to the program. Okay, and that result should also be displayed in such a manner so that the user can understand. Okay, next, beside this, the making the program easily understandable and the modifiable. So if it is required, the program can be modifiable easily also. Next is what, the portability. Portability means what, it refers to the ability of an application to run on a different platform. Let's say I have developed a software using the Windows platform. Okay, but if it is not able to run in the Mac OS or in any other platform, that means it is not portable. But let's say a software is developed which is supported by the Windows platform, Mac platform or Android platform, that means what, it is portable, it can run in any platform. This is very important. Next is what, reliability. Reliability means what, it is the ability of a program to do its intended function. Means for which purpose you have developed the software, it should reach the goal. Moreover, the program must be able to handle unexpected situation, like if the user has provided you the wrong input, so in that situation also the program should give a proper message. Let's say a message has been given, enter your age. So let's say you have written 16, no problem, 16 you have written, but let's say if you have entered 16 in words, okay, so definitely error will come. So in that situation also the program should be able to handle that situation. That's a wrong input. It's a wrong input. How to handle this one? So if a program can handle wrong input as well as the correct input also, then it's a reliable program. Okay, next is what the self-documenting code. The source code which uses suitable name for identifiers, means variables and the functions, because self-documenting, as I've already told you, that try to give a proper name for the identifiers. Okay, also, giving proper name for the variables and the methods would tell the reader of the code clearly what is it doing. Means if you have a proper function name, proper variable name, so while any one of your team members is going through the code, will understand basically what this program is going to do. Hence, a good program must have a self-documenting code. Now let us see the problem solving process. Problem solving process. Okay, now the problem solving process, basically it begins with the problem specification, means identifying the problem, defining a problem, and it ends up with writing a concrete program. Fine. Programming means a problem solving activity which basically is having these four steps. First step is what? Understanding the problem. You have to understand the problem basically. The first step is to understand the problem well. It may be very difficult to understand the problem, but it is crucial. In general, one must find out the output from the given data and assess the relationship between the input and the output data. It is also important to verify whether the given information is sufficient to solve the problem or not. Okay, so for this, the whenever we are developing a software, we have to identify the problem. We have to visit that site. What are the people are dealing? What kind of data the people are giving as an input, and what as an output they want. Okay, so this is what we try to do. Once we have understood the problem, once we have understood the environment where the when the software will be deployed, how it is going to work, what are the things, next it comes what? The devise a plan. We have to plan. It means drawing an action plan to solve a problem once understood. A plan is devised from data processing to the result according to the relationship that links both of them. If the problem is trivial, this step will not require much thinking. Okay, so once we have understood the problem, next we have to draw a plan. If this is the input, this will be the output, this can be the possible output, this can be the possible input. Okay, so this is what the plan. Now once a plan is devised, now next is what? We have to execute the plan. So it should follow the execution of the plan should follow the plan of action completely, and each element of the plan should be checked as it is applied. In course of execution, if any part of the plan is found to be unsatisfactory, the plan should be revised. So while we are executing plan, it may happen that we have encountered a situation that what we have planned, it is not feasible or it is not correct one, then again we have to revise the plan once again. Next, after executing the plan, next comes what? The evaluating. Finally, the result should be examined in order to make sure that it is valid and that problem has been solved completely. So we have first defined the problem, we have devised the plan, we have executed the plan. So basically, while we were understanding the problem, we have checked both the things. What is the input data and what will be the output data? Now while we are evaluating, we should see that whatever the output we are getting, it is according to the definition of the problem or not. Okay, now let's talk about the problem solving methodology. Now let's see the problem solving methodology. Okay, well, there can be many approaches, many methods to solve a particular problem, but we should adopt a systematic method of a problem solving. So here we will be following 7 steps of the software life cycle. Okay, to solve a particular problem. So let's first see what is problem definition. See, when the computer program are written to solve problems posed by the humankind, prior to writing a program, one has to understand the description of the problem to solve. This description may be precise or vague, but nevertheless it is necessary. Okay, let's say for an example, we have to write a program to find the factorial of a number. So first you have to understand what is a factorial. Okay, the first thing we have to understand what is a factorial, and the second thing we have to understand how to calculate the factorial. These two things should be there. So this is what the problem definition. Now next, what once we have understood what is the problem definition, now specification is required. It must include input. Specification must contain input and output. Okay, input means what data must be included as the input and in which form, and output means what data must the program produce as in which form. Okay, next comes is what the problem analysis. Now in this step, the problem has to be fragmented, means it should be divided into the smaller and manageable parts. The original problem has to be analyzed and divided into smaller sub problems, as these sub problems are easier to solve and their solution would become the component of the final program. Okay, so what we do, we break down the complex program into simpler one, and these sub problems are divided into further smaller ones, and these fragments has to be continued to achieve the simple solution. Once it is done, then what we start doing, we start combining them and we start solving the problem. Okay, now there can be many approach. Let's say first one is the modular programming. Let's talk about the modular programming. Modular programming is the act of designing and writing programs as functions that each one performs single well-defined functions which is minimal interaction between the subprogram. It means that the content of each function is cohesive and there is low coupling between them. There are two methods available for modular programming. They are top-down design and bottom-up design. So modular programming says what means for functions, writing programs as functions. Okay, there will be very less interaction among the between the sub programs. So this is what the modular programming. Now modular programming can be categorized into two things. One is what top down, and another is what bottom up. What is top down? That means what there is top down means it is a complex program. It is broken down into the simpler to simpler form, and then the simplest one is we try to solve the simplest one and we keep on combining the simpler solution to make the complete program. Now bottom up says what's just reverse. Bottom up design is just the opposite of the top down design. It refers to a style of programming in which an application is constructed with existing primitive of the programming language, and then gradually more and more complicated features are added till applications are written. Okay, in other words, you can say let's say you are already having some modules are there, so small modules are already available. You keep on adding them and keep on adding them until unless you don't get the desired application. Okay, so this is what the bottom up design. Now next is designing the problem. Designing the problem in the sense, now in this step what we are going to do, first of all we are going to write the algorithm. What is algorithm? I have already discussed with you. Writing the problems, how to solve the problem, writing the problem in a simple English language in a step-by-step manner, that is what the algorithm. After writing the algorithm, what we do, we just convert the algorithm into a pictorial representation, and that is what the flow chart. Okay, now once the problem is designed, next step is what? Coding. Coding means what? Translating whatever we have done. We have written the algorithm, flow chart. Now it is time to translate into a code. So the process of translating the algorithm into a syntax of a given language is known as what? The coding. Since algorithm cannot be executed directly by the computer, it has to be translated into a programming language. Any programming language can be used, and it can be Java, Python, or C, C++, anything it can be. Now once you have written the code, what we need to do, we have to we have to test the program and we have to find the bug. First, let's talk about the testing. Testing means what? Running the program, executing all the instructions, function and testing, and we are checking that our program is running in all the conditions and it is giving the desired output. Okay, this is what the testing. Basically, testing means running the program, executing all its instructions and function, testing the logic by entering sample data in order to check the output. Now, what is debugging? Debugging is the process of finding and correcting the errors in the program code. Now, what can be the errors? Now, let me tell you, there are three kind of errors. One is syntax error, another is logical error, and the next is the runtime error. Let me explain you what do you mean by the syntax error. When we write code, we have to follow some syntax rule. Okay, just like in the C programming, it is mandatory that after every instruction we have to give the semicolon. If the semicolon is missing, that is called what? The syntax error. Fine. Logical error. Logical error in the sense you have written the program correctly, it is compiling also, but it is not giving that output which you want. In the first step, what will happen? It will not compile only. Okay, so there is no point of getting the output. In the logical error, in the sense you have written the program, there is no syntax error, it is getting compiled also, but it is not giving you the desired output. That means your logic is the logic that you have applied in the program, it is not correct. That is what the logical error. Now let's talk about the runtime error. Runtime error in the sense you have written the program, now your program is running. Now while your program is running, abruptly it has stopped working. What can be the reason? Let's say you have written a program, you are supposed to accept two numbers. First you have accepted, let's say enter first number 1 n1 as 10 and n2 as 5. Okay, very good. So you try to divide, you want to divide 10 by 5 and you want to display the result. No problem, the display the output will be shown, that is what the 2. Okay, but let's say in the second time you have entered 10 as a first number and the second number you have entered 0. So here the exception will be generated, that is what? Divided by 0. Program will stop working because you have tried to divide a number by 0. So divide by 0 error it will be shown. So this is what a runtime error. Fine. Now let's see. Now let's see what is a documentation. Basically, a documentation includes problem definition that we have already discussed, design documents, description of the test performer, history of the program development and its different version, and a user's manual. Such a manual is designed for a naive user, means the who is the beginner, and illustrates the preparation of the input data, running the program and obtaining and interpreting the result. So a complete documentation, everything from the definition, specification, while you have done the testing, okay, everything is should be there. Means a complete thing. If you after, if you, let's say you leave the organization, so after you, if any another team member joins, so if he goes through the documentation, he should be able to understand about the software. Okay, so this is called what? The documentation. Next is what? The program maintenance. Once see you have developed a software, you have deployed it into the site. Now the last is what? The program maintenance. A very important process because it may happen it by the time when the users are using some bug is there, so we have to fix that error. So that is what the program maintenance. It is not directly the part of the original implementation process, but it needs special emphasis. Means when you have started, it is not the part, but once you have completed, okay, that is what called service after sale, you can say. Okay, this is what a post service. So all activities that occur after a program operation are part of the program maintenance. Many large programs have long lifespan that often exceed the lifetime of the hardware they run on. Usually the expenditure of the program maintenance will be more than the development cost of the program. The program maintenance includes basically what? Finding and eliminating previously undetected programmers. It may happen while it was while the program was being developed, that error was not a was undetectable, and it was there is a part of the software. So if it has got detected later on, it should be removed. Modifying the current program often to improve its performance, or to adapt to new laws of the government regulation, or to adapt to the new hardware or to the new operating system. This is also very very important. Sometimes what happened, by the time government regulation keeps on changing, or some new laws came into existence, or let's say hardware is upgraded, or the operating system is get upgraded, so your software should be able to cope up with the changes. Okay, so this can be done by the maintenance only, adding new features or the better user interface or the new capabilities to the program. Okay, so next is what we have to keep on upgrading the existing software. We have to keep on adding the new feature. By the time definitely this, if the things keeps on changing, the software also needs the changes. Updating the documentation, the document should be updated during the program maintenance. If let's say a new things has been incorporated, or some error has been detected, so that should be the part of the documentation. Fine. Maintenance is an important part of the life cycle of a program. It's also important as far as the documentation is concerned, since any change related to a program will require updating of internal as well as the external documentation. Maintenance documentation will include results of the program development steps, design documents, program code, and test information. So students, here we have finished this chapter, that is program methodology. In the next video, we are going to start the next chapter, unit 3, introduction to the Python. So by that time, if you have any query, please do write down into the comment box. And yes, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to my channel. Thank you students for your patience.